All right, hey everyone, welcome to week 11 of fantasy football. Just a quick comment from last week. I don't know if you saw that that Cowboys and Steelers game. That was pretty incredible. The Steelers game this week will not be, but the one last week was awesome. As a Browns fan, it's always fun to see the Steelers lose, and as an Ohio State fan, it's fun to see Ohio State players do well. So WK11 ran all over them, kind of like Bo Jackson in those Super Tecmo Bowl commercials. That's what he looked like out there. Just fun, but it really was a good game with all the league changes. Best game of the year. So good job, football. Let's get to the studs and duds from this last week. Steven, you scored 176 points this week, man. That is stud worthy every single week. Good job, especially when your record was 2-7. So good job. Dud last week, Shane. I know you love it when I call you out, but this is why you are the dud. Is because you are currently out of the playoffs because you lost last week. You knocked yourself out, and here's the biggest obstacle you have in front of you. You basically have to win out because you will not win a tiebreaker because tiebreaker are points for, and you just stunk for the first half of the year and scored no points every single week. So you have scored the least amount of points in our league. So you really got to play well these last 2 weeks because you cannot tie with anyone. You have to get a playoff spot all on your own, and you blew that last week. So win out, and I think you're in. All right, news from the other league is Marshall put up 150, which is a good score, but he knocked down Eric, who I was just telling you a couple weeks ago is dominating our league. So good job, Marshall, on that one. All right, last thing is if the playoffs ended, if the season ended right now, I just want you to know who would be in the playoffs. We have Chris Levet, Andrew Coy, and the Walkers. You guys would be the top three. Then Chris Parker, Brian, and Kevin after that. And the tiebreaker is points for, so make sure you're putting up a lot of points as much as you can so you win those tiebreakers. All right, let's get to the games for this week. First one we have Chris versus Shane. And on this one, Michael Thomas didn't do much for you, Chris. I think that hurts. I'm interested to see what Oakland can do against Houston. They have a pretty good defense. But I think that hurts you this week. I'm going to roll with Shane. You need the win, and I think he's going to get it because Russell Wilson's finally playing well. All right, next we have Brian versus Kevin. You got you got a pretty good defensive score. It's probably the only good thing that happened on Thursday night was if you had the Carolina defense. And I think that might be the difference here. I think this is probably a low-scoring one. But I think the Johnson, Elliott, that could be a wash, but I like Luck over Bortles. So, Brian, you win. Next, we have Andrew versus the Walkers. Your QBs went head-to-head, and they both stunk last week. And then Walkers, you had Snead follow that up with nothing. I think that hurts. But I don't really think Isaiah Crowell's going to do much against the Steelers. And I don't think Corey Coleman is either. And I think those two Browns positions really hurt you this week. I think the Walkers pull ahead on this one. All right, I like the new name, Brock. As a John McClane fan myself, it is fun. And going against Miller Time, two good names based on your teams. And again, poor showings on Thursday. That's kind of like the overall, like what happened. But I got to go with Steven on this one because I like Mariota and I like Bell this week. And Mariota seems to throw the ball to Walker a lot. So Steven's going to have another good week. And last, we have Chris versus Discount Belichick, a new name there by Marshall, which is another fun one. And I like Big Ben going against the Browns. I think there's a ton of points right there. I really like Devon Adams this week. So I'm actually calling for the upset this week with Chris losing, which that he doesn't do very often. So it's a big upset. So if that happens, good job, Marshall. All right, that's it for this week. Get out there, enjoy some football, enjoy the snow because it looks like we're going to get some. And besides that, go Browns. See you on Sunday.